I'm not a morning person.
Dedicated to being passionate about it.
Bodybuilders have become more lazy.
People have always thought I lift fake weights.
Iran and the United States.
You take responsibility for that.
It's interesting. I saw a video of you recently where you stood up for Michael Hearn. Michael Hearn is the guy that everybody's people are obsessed with him. I don't know why, but people are obsessed with him. They think this guy is lying to them about his steroid use constantly, and he's been defending himself all these years. Publicly, obviously, he's been in the film. The Natty film, and you actually stood up for him. You said, he could be why people are gaining up on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's my point. Is that nobody knows. Nobody has lived with Mike for 52 years, day in and day out. And my point is like that there are so many jealous haters. Don't you think one of them by now, after he's been in the spotlight for 30 years now, don't you think someone would have had evidence that said, hey, I sold Mike some D-ball, or I not one person has come forward to say they have any evidence that they've sold it to him, they've seen it with him. I don't personally care if he does or doesn't. My point is, why is it so hard to believe that there are creatures out there that have way better genetics than you? And I don't think he's unbelievable. He's 6'3", 240 pounds right now. That's not that gigantic. I mean, if Rami was 6'3", he'd be 440 pounds. So, it's not that hard to believe. It's just that he's done it so consistently, and he has a look that nobody else has. And he's strong as hell, and he's consistent as hell. And I've trained with Mike many times. My brother was his training partner every day for 10 years.
Oh, really? 10 years? Wow.
Yeah. When my brother first moved to L.A., back in the late 90s, early 2000s, he trained with Mike every day. That's how I met Mike. And he would tell me day in and day out, and I would say, like, he's not taking anything. The guy's gigantic. And he's like, oh, man. He's like, he's just a freak, you know? And his weight would fluctuate from 300 pounds down to 235 because he would get real bloaty, heavy to put on size, and off-season, whatever. And then he would do a competition. I remember him always telling me this. He'd do a contest and be about 245. And then he would do a photo shoot and suck down even more. He always look better in photos, completely depleted and even lighter than he did in a contest photo. So that was weird to me, but it made sense. The thinner you are, the more photogenic you're going to be. That's why models are so thin. But yeah, I love Mike. Mike is a great guy. And again, I don't care if he does or he doesn't. My whole point is, how do you know? These people are so they're so convinced that they know it, that they hate him for it. And I'm like, I have no evidence of it, and neither do you. And I personally think the guy is amazing. I think what I was describing to you earlier, where if you focus more on your weight training and your nutrition than you do on drugs, then you'll get a lot further. And I think that's what Mike has done his entire life. He is focused on the heavy training and eating and nutrition and rest and doing all the right things.
And the argument people make is that, well, he's claiming it's natural so he can sell his supplements. But then he could have just not said anything and like everybody else and still sell the supplements. You know what I mean? I don't understand that point. Like, he just wants to sell his over-the-counter supplements to you. You know what I mean? I don't understand that point. Like,
if he would have gotten these contracts to sell supplements, whether he's natural or not.
So I'm saying nobody would have cared. Like, nobody would have addressed it.
These are just lame excuses that people have to hate him. And I don't have time or energy. I'm too old to hate anyone. I think you worry about yourself, and you'll be a lot better than worrying about what Michael Hearn does.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.